For instance, we're going to be going live on YouTube in just a second.
That's not worrying. Thank you.
Okay.
We are live.
Thank you. And to the Middleton City Council meeting. Today is May 2nd, and I'm calling to order the regular meeting. A roll call, please.
Alder Clear. Here. Alder Wilkus. Here. Alder Jackson.
Here.
Alder Nero. Here. Alder Lorman.
Here.
Alder Crow.
Here.
Mayor Kuhn.
Here.
Council President Nelson.
Here. All right, and next on the agenda is public comments. And first up is Aaron Summers. If you'd like to come to the front, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, council members. I just wanted to take a minute or two of your time to come here on behalf of the Middleton Arts Committee to remind you of the upcoming Middleton Art Walk.
Can you also share your name and address for the,
Aaron Summers, 6811 North Avenue.
thank you,
And Jolene Olson, 7194 Bellefontaine Boulevard,
thank you.
also with Arts Committee.
So the Middleton Art Walk is coming up on Saturday, May 20th. This will be the third year of a very successful art walk, supporting the Arts Committee's purpose of representing local artists and creating new opportunities. There's also a wonderful opportunity to draw people in for downtown, support local businesses and restaurants in the area. We are also looking for volunteers, so I know you are all busy, but we have a sign-up sheet if anyone is interested. And obviously, if you have other friends and neighbors and family members that would be interested in volunteering, that would be wonderful as well.
I didn't study what she talked about.
Just here's our wonderful event poster. You'll be seeing these around town, and hopefully if you, or just contact either Aaron or myself if you know of a good spot to hang one of these. And we look forward to seeing you all on the 20th.
We'll send out an email link too as well for those interested. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? All right, seeing none, we can move on to the presentation. And it's the Middleton Area Development Corporation, MADC, Annual Report Presentation by President Kevin Mahaney.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I appreciate this opportunity to speak before you this evening, and my appreciation of Brian as well for making the time in the agenda for our presentation. The Middleton Area Development Corporation may be a name you're familiar with. My goal tonight is to make this an informative presentation. Helping me as well as board member Robert Burke, who you'll hear from in just a little bit. You might recognize Robert as he sat in your chair at one time as well. The materials I'd like to cover with you tonight is to give you a historical perspective of MADC, talk a little bit about how we operate in the community, our accomplishments, some noteworthy accomplishments, and what 22 and 23 have looked like for us so far. Historically speaking, MADC took its roots in 1969 when the organization was incorporated here in Middleton. It continued to operate until about the mid 1980s and then went defunct. I'm not sure what those reasons were, but it stayed that way until Mayor Ramsey revived the organization in 2000. And then Mayor Zwonk took it to the next level by creating an economic development agreement with Middleton Area Development Corporation and with the city, funded it with a $2 million grant. Now, a good share of the money from that grant went to construct the airport terminal by MADC. MADC used that money to build the terminal. And then in 2004, a year later, it was occupied by the fixed-based operator, which is a Maury Airplane Company, and still remains as the tenant in that building today. MADC has that property on a land lease, so we make regular payments to the city for that land lease. In fact, Bill, you and I need to get that worked out for 2023. But that has been the formula that we've used. A side note, in the last couple of years, we've put $20,000 worth of improvements into the airport terminal. It's been a great working relationship with Maury Airplane Company. They've been excellent tenants, and we've worked together with them through thick and thin times. One other item worth noting is that in 2010, the city and MADC signed a resolution that separated the public and private interest. That resolution dissolved the previous economic development agreement, partially driven by a Supreme Court decision in 2009. So in 2010, MADC really kind of became a separate economic development entity compared to how it operated kind of in the public venue in the past. One stipulation in our bylaws is if MADC ceases to exist, all of the assets will be returned to the city of Middleton. I became a board member in 2011. I've served as president of MADC for about the last 10 years. Now, our operations, you know, we don't have any brick or mortar here in the city. We don't maintain offices anywhere. We have kind of get out there and folks have learned about us because we are focused exclusively on providing loans to businesses within the city boundaries. We don't go beyond the boundaries. We stay strictly within the boundaries. We always have. And, you know, over the years, you develop a reputation, you make connections. When I was a commercial lender, you know, I was able to interact with a number of businesses while serving on the board. We had a lot of ways of getting out and telling a story about MADC. And so our private loan fund is used to help businesses expand or locate to Middleton. The monies can be used to buy equipment, purchase machinery. Leasehold improvements has become another important factor recently. We've done some building expansion and real estate improvements. I think that pretty much encompasses how we've used the funds. All loans are negotiated on a confidential basis. We have our own attorneys who help us prepare those loan documents. We negotiate the loan terms, the collateral, the interest rate, and the fees. And we find that we have always been very fair and competitive in doing that. Sometimes we can stretch a little bit further than a traditional bank when we make those loans. The success, I believe, of MADC over the years is really tied to how well our board of directors has functioned, the guidance that we've received from our accountants and from our attorneys. And together, we really do our due diligence when it comes to each loan request. And if there's one thing that I am especially proud of in the history of MADC is that in all the years that we've made loans, we have never suffered a loan loss. And, you know, knock on wood, that's pretty remarkable in these times. But the board is very diligent about vetting our lending practices. The other part that I think is some of the challenges that lay out there in front of us as we look at the economic development in the Parmenter Street corridor along University Avenue, I think MADC will have a role to play in there, helping businesses get established. If they don't qualify for traditional bank financing, or a bank can only lend so much, particularly as interest rates go higher and lending standards tighten up, MADC might be able to backfill some of those funding requests in the future. So I see us as a great partner for those corridors into the future. Some of our noteworthy accomplishments probably fit under the heading that I say to our board frequently, and that is we do our best work quietly and out of the public eye, but I'm happy to share with you some of our successes. We played a very key role in the redevelopment of the old Middleton Center. We worked quietly behind the scenes to help with the acquisition of that property, and we're into that transaction for about 3 years. We went on to assist with the assemblage by providing bridge financing for the properties used for the Stonehorse Green Plaza. We are a partner in the Venture Debt Fund, which is run by the Middleton Development Corporation. They specialize in helping startup businesses throughout Dane County, where we come in as businesses here in Middleton that are based here. One success story that I can share with you is Polco. I think you're very familiar with them. Over on the other side of the Beltline. We were an investor in them through the Venture Debt Fund, and that loan was repaid successfully. We've made subsequent investments through the Venture Debt Fund. So Middleton Development Corporation is someone that I would consider to be a strategic partner for us. We also were a key contributor into the Stonehorse Green Plaza project. We did a $100,000 matching grant program, and that was successful. We were matched dollar for dollar on that. And I want to also acknowledge that we had a very good experience working with Abby and Daphne on that project. And then I think probably a project that everyone in this room can be proud of is the Middleton Economic Relief Loan Program. And there's no one better here tonight to talk about it than Robert. So Robert, if you don't mind, I'm happy to turn the podium over to you. Great.
Hello, I'm Robert Burke. I was once in the seats that you guys were sitting in. I was an alder for 5 years from 2017 to 2022. From 2017 on, I was also assigned to work with MADC. So I've been part of this group for a while now as well. MERL, or the Middleton Economic Recovery Loan Program, started as an early idea in 2020, but that's right when the federal Paycheck Protection Program was kind of coming in, the PPP was coming in, and most people were like, hey, I think I'll go with that federal program. They might forgive our loans. We'll go that route. But after that first initial PPP loan system kind of ended, we saw that, basically small businesses here in Middleton were still struggling. We still needed a program. And it was clear that PPP2 wasn't going to happen anytime in the near future. It was kind of held up by politics. So MADC came together with the city of Middleton, and we said, well, what can we do? Well, the city of Middleton has a hard time doing certain things because you can't really loan to people, and people who want money can't come in confidence and share what their needs are with you because everything's open record. So that's where a partner like MADC comes into play. We can do things that the city cannot do. So we worked hard behind the scenes. We started off with thinking it was going to be a $200,000 program, $100,000 from the city, $100,000 from MADC, and we were going to make this happen. Well, very quickly we saw that there was a lot of interest, and we quickly came back and said, we think we can triple this. We think if the city's willing to put in another $200,000 for a total of $300,000, we'll do the same. And we did. We put in $600,000 total. We loaned that money out to 25 different businesses. We have basically we offered loans from between $5,000 to $25,000, and most people took us up on the $25,000. It turns out the plan was no interest until January 1st, 2022, and 1% interest rate after that with a 36-month amortization period. And it just required a personal guarantee and a $100 closing fee. So very popular, and it was very successful. We're thrilled about it. We approved the 25 loans, deployed 99% of the original funds. 10 loans have been paid back in full. 15 loans are outstanding yet, and all of these businesses are still going strong. So the loan will be paid in full at the end of 2024. So there's 19 more months remaining. The success of the Merle program is deeply rooted in Middleton. The support from Mike Davis, who is the past city administrator, the Common Council, MADC, the Middleton Chamber of Commerce, who really got people involved in participating, as well as Chrysalis Design and Furman and Dodge law firms who helped us kind of get everything legally where it needed to be. And the ultimate success will be known in 2024, but so far, so good. And both parties share in any losses on these loans as well as the payback. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over. But it was a very successful program, and I'm really thankful that all of you helped us make it successful. Thank you.
Did you want to talk about, sir?
Oh, I can talk really quickly. Yeah, not only was this program successful here, but we were contacted last year in September by Sarah Godlewski, who at the time was the state treasurer. Now she's the Secretary of State. She said, "We've heard about your program. We want to duplicate your program. We want to take this statewide. How can we take this statewide? What did you do?" And we spent a couple hours with her and really kind of spelled it out. And we're kind of waiting to see. And just recently, in fact, they contacted us again and asked for a blurb from us. So I think this is still kind of something in the works where basically we did something new that other places in the state haven't, and they're hoping that they can maybe blow that out to the rest of the state. So that would be really exciting if that happens. So I think that's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And I guess to put an exclamation point on Robert's presentation, I have a check tonight for the city for $100,000 from the Merle proceeds in our successful collection so far. So Brian,
Fantastic.
Like, can I take a picture? Go ahead. I'm like, go back over. I'm sorry. I want to redo that check thing.
And I just want to say, this is the second $200,000 back. So
Wow.
2/3 of the
Great
money
job.
as of tonight has been paid back to the city of
That's
Middleton.
fantastic.
That's great.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. We still have a ways to go, but this has far exceeded any of our expectations. You really have to go back to 2020 and realize the suffering that was going on in our business community. I closed all 25 of those loans. I looked every one of those borrowers in the eye. I cannot tell you enough how appreciative they were of what happened between the city and MADC to get them the relief. They knew there was a vaccine coming. We just didn't know when it was going to really officially roll out. So these $25,000 loans went a long way. And the fact that everyone's still in business and we've had 10 loans repaid, I think it's just a wonderful success story. So congratulations to the city as well. All right, I promised to kind of wrap things up here with some highlights from 22 and 23. We, in 22, 3 long-serving board members retired, so we lost a bit of institutional knowledge, if you will, but we have a pretty dynamic board and we're filling their shoes admirably. Our loan activity was down a little bit last year, but I can tell you because I had a number of Merle borrowers that we had to get on principal and interest payment. I was very busy to start the year to make sure the machine was oiled and everything was working well, and it is because the portfolio is paid current. And then in total between last year and this year so far, we have approximately $800,000 in new loans approved. Now, how those fund over time, we'll see. One noteworthy is I mentioned our partnership with the Madison Development Corporation. We are going to participate with them on the Century Avenue project, which is sort of our first foray into apartments and affordable housing, but we think we have the right partner to do that with. And then we recently approved a new loan for a longtime Middleton business to help them with their new building. And last but not least, I'm especially proud that this month, we will be closing our first loan to a 100% Hispanic-owned business here in Middleton. So with that, I really appreciate time tonight to make a presentation about MADC. I always welcome the opportunity to come. This is my third time presenting here, and hopefully you've gleaned a thing or two. Always ready to extend a hand to businesses where we can help them grow and expand and locate in Middleton. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. All right. So moving on to proclamations, we have a proclamation proclaiming Public Service Recognition Week in the city of Middleton. And I'm going to ask City Administrator Gatto to go ahead and read that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a proclamation proclaiming Public Service Recognition Week in the city of Middleton. Whereas the city of Middleton is privileged to have an exceptional workforce committed to providing quality services to its citizens. And whereas the city staff of Middleton, Wisconsin is tirelessly dedicated themselves to providing exemplary public service throughout the year. And whereas the week of May 7 to May 13th, 2023 is designated as Public Service Recognition Week to honor those who serve our community as federal, state, county, and local government employees. Now, therefore, I, Emily Kuhn, Mayor of the City of Middleton, Wisconsin, along with the Middleton Common Council and the citizens of the city, do hereby recognize and commend the city staff of Middleton for their outstanding public service to our community during Public Service Recognition Week 2023. We express our gratitude for the exemplary work the city staff has done in ensuring that Middleton is a safe, healthy, and prosperous city for all of its residents. The hard work, dedication, and tireless efforts of our city staff have been invaluable in creating a vibrant community. We acknowledge their public service is often challenging and they must often make difficult decisions to ensure the needs of the community are met. Despite these challenges, the city staff of Middleton have consistently demonstrated a commitment to serving the needs of the community with excellence, and we are proud to honor them during Public Service Recognition Week 2023. Therefore, I call upon all citizens of Middleton to join me in expressing our sincere appreciation and gratitude for the city staff's dedication, commitment, and hard work in serving the city of Middleton. Thank you for your service. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the second day of May, 2023.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion?
This is Nelson. I'll move approval.
Do I have a second?
Schaefer, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next is honoring Detective Kathleen Riffenberg's service to the city of Middleton. And we're asking Chief Hellenbrand to read this.
Thank you, Mayor. Kathleen, can you stand up here next to me? Kathleen is in the back with a number of other police employees, but this is a proclamation honoring Detective Kathleen Riffenberg's service to the city of Middleton. Whereas Kathleen Riffenberg has announced her retirement as a detective with the Middleton Police Department after serving since April 7, 2009, 14 years of public service to the city of Middleton as a sworn police officer. And whereas Kathleen started her law enforcement career with the Bakersfield Police Department in 1999 as a police service technician, and later was hired as a police officer in 2002. And whereas Kathleen has superbly served in the positions of patrol officer, field training officer, evidence technician, drug recognition expert, physical fitness instructor, arson investigator, and since 2019 as a full-time detective. And whereas Kathleen proudly served her country as a member of the United States Navy from 1986 to 1997 and was honorably discharged at the rank of HM2E5. And whereas Kathleen was the creator of the Battle of the Badges event with the inaugural game being played in 2012. Kathleen's efforts with the Battle of the Badges event has raised over $100,000 for several local families whose child was battling childhood cancer. And whereas Kathleen has participated in several department community outreach activities, which has included our Citizens Academy, Shop with a Cop, Bell Ringing for the Salvation Army, Susan G. Komen Cure for Cancer, and Big Brothers Big Sisters Bowling fundraiser. And whereas Kathleen's personnel file contains a plethora of department accommodations and other department awards, which Kathleen received during her distinguished career. And whereas Kathleen has served the residents of the city of Middleton with the highest distinction, always going above and beyond the call of duty for the needs of the community. And whereas Detective Kathleen Riffenberg has excelled in all facets of her work with the city, and she will be missed both personally and professionally by the staff, city employees, elected officials, and members of the community. And read the last part too.
Now therefore, the Common Council of the City of Middleton and Mayor Kuhn hereby proclaim, honor, and commend Kathleen Riffenberg for her distinguished career of public service to the city and wish her a pleasant, healthy, and prosperous retirement. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the second day of May 2023. Thank you.
Will all police department employees up?
Sure.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the proclamation?
This is Haniro. I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
This is Jackson. I second that motion.
Great. And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Congratulations. Up next is honoring National Tourism and Travel Week. So our proclamation, do you want to come on up? Honoring National Travel and Tourism Week, May 7th through the 13th, 2023. So whereas Visit Middleton and the Middleton Tourism Commission are committed to promoting the Good Neighbor City as an excellent place to live, work, play, and visit, and endeavor to support the local economy through marketing and promotional efforts. And whereas the travel industry fuels every industry and will continue to be an essential part of the city of Middleton's economy, development, and workforce. And whereas through the diligent efforts of both tourism, marketing, and the entire hospitality community in Middleton, visitors have felt welcome to enjoy the city's events as well as recreational, shopping, and dining opportunities, resulting in an increase in visitor spending and hospitality employment. And whereas visitor spending accounted for $138 million in the city of Middleton in 2021, a 42% increase from 2020, led by the lodging industry as reported by Tourism Economics, and tourism-related labor income in Middleton amounted to $48 million in 2021, with a 16% increase in hospitality employment. And whereas tourism revenue reports for 2022 were a comeback story for the city, with room tax collections up to 67%, nearly at pre-pandemic levels. And whereas 30% of Middleton lodging room tax collections are contributed to the city general fund to support essential services and programs. And whereas this is the 40th anniversary of National Travel and Tourism Week, an opportunity to recognize the city's hospitality industry, tourism staff, business owners, and community for the work performed every day and efforts taken to help the city recover following a global pandemic. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Common Council and Mayor Kuhn hereby proclaim May 7th through the 13th of 2023 as National Travel and Tourism Week in Middleton, Wisconsin, and urge the citizens of the city of Middleton to join in recognizing the critical role this industry plays in our city. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting at the Middleton Common Council on the second day of May. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Wilkus. I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
This is Alder Crow. I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Let's take a quick picture for our tourism. Like, come on over. Our fan favorite. I have a proclamation.
I've got one. Thank you.
Soon enough.
Sure.
All right, moving on to approval of consent agenda as recommended to council by committee, commission board. Oh, my apologies. Thank you.
We did.
Yes.
Lucas and Crow.
Thank you. Okay, we're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you voted, yeah.
Approval of consent agenda is recommended to council by committee commission board, including the approval of the April 18th common council minutes, audit of bills to be paid as approved by finance committee, annual agreement with Department of Ag, Trade and Consumer Protection for services to enforce required weights and measures regulations, development agreement with 1630 NHPR LLC for TIF number 3, assistance for office building at 1630 North High Point Road, and development agreement with Greenway Project LLC for TIF number 3, assistance for mixed-use redevelopment at 8313 Greenway Boulevard. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I will make that motion, pulling item 1 for discussion, pulling item 3 for consideration at our next meeting, and clarifying in item 4 that the development agreement was approved pending city attorney review and approval.
Do I have a second?
I will second. This is Focus.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, pulling out one.
Item 1 is just, I would like to amend the minutes to show, I'm sorry, Bill, you don't have it up. I'll find it. The mayor's recommended appointments, council appointments to city committees. It says moved by Haniro, seconded by Nelson to approve the council appointments to city committees with the recommended changes. I just feel like it's important to specify what those recommended changes were to document in the minutes what we did. That's the only change.
Okay. And do I need a motion for that?
To approve the minutes?
Yeah.
Yes, so I would move approval of the minutes, adding what the specific
changes.
recommendations
Point
were.
of information, council, we should do the consent agenda motion first, then come back and do
Right.
a motion to separately approve the minutes with your amendment.
I think we did.
Did do
Yeah,
that.
we
I need
did.
three things at once. So.
I'm throwing,
it
I'm
was-
throwing Brian off today. I apologize.
Yeah, it was Haniro and Lucas.
Got
Yep. So now on the minutes, I'm making the motion. Still Haniro. The motion to approve the minutes with the specific recommended changes, or with the recommended changes specified. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Alderman Schaefer, second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. And you said number 3.
Number
The
3 will
annual
come back
agreement?
to at the next meeting.
Okay, so we're deferring it.
Yes.
Do I need a motion to defer?
Well, we took it off of the consent agenda. I guess, do we need to? I guess we do need. Okay, I'll make a motion to defer the annual agreement with DATCAP for services to enforce required weights and measures regulations until next time.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Right, and you said the number 4, something about pending.
That one we amended with my motion just to say
Excellent.
it's pending city attorney review. So that one's been taken
Awesome.
care of.
Thank you so much. Moving on to award of bid, quote, and professional service. Award of proposal to Bruce Company for seasonal downtown planter maintenance. Do I have a motion?
This is Nairo. I'm going to move approval as recommended by finance, approval of the proposal to Bruce Company for ornamental bed maintenance,
Do I have a second?
pending city attorney approval.
Excellent, thank you. Do I have a second?
Jackson, I'll second.
Do all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to miscellaneous, concept for funding a portion of private landscaping, including a retaining wall at 6524 Oakwood Place. Do I have a motion?
Anybody from finance?
Is this a motion for action or was this just a presentation of concept?
Yeah, I think it was just a presentation of concept at this
Okay,
moment.
so we don't need action on it, correct? Okay.
Thank you. Alder or City Administrator Gatto, is this for discussion then?
Yeah, we'd have the Public Works Director just give a brief summation of where we're at with the issue, and then it'll be an item we bring back for future discussion.
Thank you.
Right, so the Public Works Committee talked about this a couple of times and made a recommendation, one, to approach the Finance Committee and Common Council with comfort for the concept. And to my knowledge, we haven't done this before. And that if the council was comfortable with the concept, then to pursue drafting an agreement and allocating funding. So we're kind of at step one of this at a council level. What we've got is a situation where a retaining wall was constructed along the back edge of public sidewalk along Mendota Avenue. And it's in the ballpark of 45 feet long, give or take. We don't have really clear records whether it was intended at the time to be public or private, but it was constructed with a road project via addendum, so not part of the bid. And I think it was put there really just for support of the public sidewalk with a road widening project. So I think it would be fair to assume that it's intended to have been a public wall, or at least for a public purpose, right? But it was constructed, as far as I can tell, on private property without an easement. So that clouds the issue a little bit. But anyway, the homeowners approached staff and said they're concerned with the lean of the wall and could we do something about that? In the meantime, they also were pursuing getting quotes on some private landscaping in their backyard to completely redo and enhance the visuals of the backyard and some visual screening from certain house windows. That would include retaining wall on private property and obviate the need then for this, what I think is probably a public retaining wall. And so the question was, well, could the city contribute toward that? We haven't, to my knowledge, done that in the past, but in talking with the assistant city attorney, that since there is a public purpose to this, it would be reasonable in his estimation for the city and homeowner to reach agreement whereby the homeowner could then take on either fill, which would provide lateral support for the sidewalk and vertical support for the sidewalk, or a retaining wall, or a combination of the two. And if we were to contribute toward that, that serves a public purpose too. That agreement then would be in perpetuity for the homeowner to keep some sort of grading or retaining wall or a combination of the two that would support the sidewalk. No harm, no foul. We get what we wanted, they get what they wanted, and he thought it was fair to make that contribution. So I was looking at it and talking with the Public Works Committee in terms of what would it cost the city to rebuild the retaining wall out in the public right of way and rebuild the sidewalk then, which is where we would have to build the retaining walls. We'd have to tear all the sidewalk out, move it over a little bit, and rebuild it closer to the curb. That came out to an estimate of about $12,000. So that's why that number shows up in your packets here tonight. And so the concept is before you. Does the council support doing this? And if so, then we'd start approaching drafting of an agreement and identifying a potential funding source.
So I will put my Alder hat on for 1 minute. just to let you, I know I'm not an alder anymore. She's looking at me. There's no interim alder for the district right now. And this is District 4. So I just want you to know that if you have questions, it is a spot that I am aware of. And I say that because it's in an awkward place and the fence leans over the property basically. So when you are walking up it, it is not too structurally sound. So it was concerning even 5 years ago when I did doors for the first time and even before then. So if you're not aware of where the location is, I would go take a walk and go see it because most of the sidewalks I see in the city are not a concern ever. I just happily walk on them. But this spot is one that with a toddler and a small baby in a carriage, it was tough. So I promise not to talk often, but this was District 4, so just sharing.
If I may. You're right. It's a pretty highly trafficked sidewalk. It's right across from Lakeview Park as you're leaving university. It's on the north and north side of I think that's Lakeview. What's the road that it's?
Mendota.
Mendota.
Yeah, so it's on the south side of Mendota, right across from the ball field.
It's on the south side. Yeah, I always get them flipped.
That happens.
The south side across from the baseball field there, and it is pretty bad. But I will remind everyone that we're talking about the concept of doing this, not this specific section of sidewalk. What is before us is the idea that we would be using public funding for a private project, or giving money to a resident under contract that would be used for a private project. Correct.
As a reimbursement.
As a reimbursement.
Correct.
For
them doing in a different way what we otherwise would do someday.
And then, so basically either the city would do it, and we would do it all on our own and have to do substantial rebuilding of the sidewalk in this situation. Or there was a situation where we had to do an easement, correct?
Well, we could try to acquire an easement. Some homeowners are open to that idea. That could also have a cost to it. But we've got a reasonable terrace there. So if push came to shove and we needed to rebuild a public wall in the public right of way, we could do that. And that's what this cost estimate is based on.
So there's one where we would be rebuilding the sidewalk with a wall in the public right of way, which would be all of ours cost. We would be rebuilding a wall in their property, and that would require the easement. Or there's this third option. So basically that's our three options, right? In this particular situation.
If we all agree that, my assumption of it being a public wall is correct, yeah, then we don't have a lot of assumptions. We've also run into some where the question lands on the council determining that now it's really a private wall. That opens up some other options. I don't think that this would be a private wall.
Based on the 1963.
Based on how it got there.
Right. So basically what's before us is this third different option of doing it. And that's what we have to discuss is that concept.
Yeah, right.
And I have a question in terms of if the property owner is the one doing the maintenance, building the wall or the landscaping, what assurances do we have that wall or the slope will support the sidewalk? Or
right.
Would that be part of the agreement that it has to meet certain standards so that, in 5 years, the sidewalk isn't collapsing?
So that's part of what we talked about at the Public Works Committee, is that this agreement would contain that provision as a perpetual obligation, that either there's some fill dirt behind the wall creating a slope that provides support, or a retaining wall, or some combination of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you. I mentioned during the finance committee meeting that I'm not inclined to support this concept. Just to reiterate what Alder Wilkes was saying, I see this as considering a concept that would not just apply in this very specific case, but because we'd be setting a precedent, we could anticipate that other homeowners would have similar requests in the future. I feel like we did not budget for this project in 2023. It was not raised as a project. And to my knowledge, nothing has happened this year to, no catastrophic failure has occurred in the wall. Sean, I believe you said that the condition of this wall is in the ballpark of that for other city-owned walls. Again, assuming it's accurate to say that this is a city-owned wall. And since we didn't budget for the project in 2023, I'm very reluctant to prioritize funding for this project over ones that we had to forego during the budget process last year because our funds were limited. This area of the city is scheduled for sidewalk maintenance in 2025. I recognize that this is not a question of sidewalk maintenance, but I'm just thinking if this is really a project that the city needs to undertake for safety, it should be proposed as a project later this year for council to consider putting in the budget for 2024. And that's if we approve the concept of using public funds to pay for private landscaping.
Alder Nelson.
Thanks. I'm just going to play a little devil's advocate, not that I know any better. Is this a possible new way of having things done for us, given that our time and staff are limited? Is this a precedent that we would welcome? And perhaps part of the deal is we didn't budget it for 2023. If you, the homeowner, are willing to do this, we would reimburse you, but not until the next budget year. Just some thoughts.
Well, that's a fair question. And the Petzold's are here, so we're lucky in that regard. If you'd like them to address that question, it's really more for them than, would they be?
Well, I
willing
also
to
just
wait
want to
for
know if we're
payments?
stepping into if this is a good new modern way of thinking about how we get things done, or if we're opening a Pandora's box that we just don't want to open.
Yeah, it's a good question. And number one, this is all based on an assumption, right? We don't have solid proof that this was intended to be public, but I think it's reasonable. And so each of you may wrestle with that in different ways. But if we all reach the same conclusion that this is a public wall, we have some duty to maintain it, replace it, whatever.
Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, just separate from the issue about, sorry, the concept. I think the precedent issue is a little bothering for me because I don't think it sets a precedent. I think that we have a situation where we took a public wall and stuck it on a private property. And so this confusion about who owns the wall and the lack of property gives it, to me, a very obvious way to say this really is a one-off unless half the walls in the city are thrown on private property. And so I personally would like to take off the table some of the discussion about setting precedents, because I think you could argue this, whichever way we go, that this doesn't really set precedents. This is dealing with a one-off oddball situation. So,
Thank you. Alder Wilkes.
But we also don't know. Like we
don't
don't, and so it's that gray area, right? But I want to go back to what Alder Nelson had said about, does this provide us with another option? When I was saying we basically have three options. We do it as a city, and ask for the easement, or we have this third option now of this process of working with the homeowner to give them something that they really want on their property. They want this, they have a choice reflected in their property that the city was going to have to do anyway. So I think that in Katie hit it kind of right on the nose when this gives us some options and how we look at these situations should they ever come up again.
Yeah,
maybe it is a one-off. Maybe this is the only time that we ever see it, and it goes down, and another 60 years from now, somebody is looking at it and going, well, back in 2023, they did this and now we're going to do this. So we don't know, but I think it's something that we should discuss as a concept to give this option. And then we have to, as Alder Nelson also said, figure out what does that mean as far as financing for it. We did talk about that in the Public Works Committee and the fact that there are some funds that were allocated this year that were not used, specifically a project.
What
That
caught
fall-
my eye was, we were going to do a pipelining project and the bids came in sufficiently high that we had to reject the bid and we can't do the project. So that doesn't mean the need for that project went away, but we cannot do it this year.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for those comments. Is that enough information that you have to move forward in whatever direction?
It's not.
Okay. What
No.
else do you need?
I need to know if the council would be supportive of reaching an agreement with property owners so that they could build their project the way they want in their yard, which would also suit our purposes, and that we would reimburse them. And I haven't heard that. So if that's not an option, then I think it's fairly on the city at some point to
Make a motion.
fund and reconstruct the wall.
Do I have a motion?
I have one more thing I just wanted to add, and that is, I hear your point, Alder Schaefer, and I would say I'd be very surprised if we did not hear from other landowners. Maybe it's not a retaining wall, but it might be a different situation where maybe a sidewalk is supported and they want to do something with their yard. So I still am concerned about the precedent. And then also, it's been said that this is something the city would have to do anyway. This is in the future and it's hypothetical. I mean, at some point we will need to fix this wall or maintain it. But it's not on our list of projects for this year. And it's not showing up as far as I can see in a 5-year plan. This is just wasn't on our radar. So I guess the only way I could imagine supporting it would be with the commitment, I guess I'll say. I'm a little reluctant to use that, but with the understanding that only if money is budgeted for 2024 is this going to be paid for. Because again, I communicate with my constituents a lot. I hear from them concerns about all the costs that we incur as a city and their taxes going up, and I'm reluctant to support public use of public funds for a private benefit, even if the city benefits in some way.
Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Alderman Nelson, you mentioned the idea of postponing payment. I'd like to ask the owners, how critical is it that this project has to happen right now? Could the project itself be postponed for a year or so that there's a closer alignment to the city's need for the sidewalk repair and your repair?
Seems like I should answer that.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
We are just asking for an approval of the concept right now. Our timing, we realize that we have to fit within the budget year. And so I see that as a separate discussion as to when the money, we have to make our budget work for this too. So that's a separate issue. But in terms of the concept, the wall supports the city sidewalk, which is the only sidewalk up and down that street that goes all the way through. If we push the wall further out into our property, the city should be concerned that our project will support the wall in perpetuity, no matter what project it would be. Like, it has to serve that purpose. And if we're going to bump that wall out at one point almost 6 feet into our yard, then that gives adequate, I don't remember your terms, like a slope or something. There's lots of dirt there that's going to hold that wall up. So even if we do a horrible job of maintaining our new wall, there's plenty of dirt there that will keep the sidewalk up so the city's needs are met. So in terms of looking at this as a concept long-term, if other people would come and ask for the same situation, if whatever they're presenting is going to meet the city needs with the city spending that money that it would have to fix the wall anyways, then it seems to me that it's a reasonable precedent. If it's going to meet the city's needs and you can see that the project will do that, and it's only spending from the city's perspective, the money you would spend anyways, then to me, as a city taxpayer, that meets what the city needs. As the homeowner, it does extra benefits for me. So for the city to do that, I am happy to work with the city on the city's timeline to make it so that it meets both the city's needs and our needs, because we have some other issues with that yard that moving this wall would greatly fix. Did I answer your question, sir? Are there any other questions while I'm standing here?
Make it clear for me.
Yeah.
Are you saying you're going to put it off till 2024 till we can have it in our budget?
We are willing to do that. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I just
Good.
wanted it right there.
No worries. Any other questions I can help with?
Okay, hearing no questions. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I don't,
I will make a motion to approve the concept for funding a portion of private landscaping, including the retaining wall at 6524 Oakwood Place.
this is Nelson. I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Is that 7 or 6-1?
Did you want to do a roll call?
It was just one.
I think we're good.
6-1. We're okay. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Motion passes. Moving on to signing bonus initiative for Middleton Police Department recruitment.
Are you ready for a motion right away?
Yeah, let's make a motion and then we'll have questions.
This is Nelson. I will move approval for the signing bonus initiative for the Middleton Police Department recruitment based on recommendation from Joint Personnel and Finance.
And do I have a second?
This is Jackson. I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Madam Chair,
Aye.
wait, for discussion, I just wanted to mention the signing bonus was approved by finance in an amount not to exceed $20,000 with the funding coming from the LE ARPA funds and the city operating funds. And correction, it
I
was approved by the
appreciate
joint
that.
finance and personnel.
Point of information, maybe. I believe, am I wrong, was it $50,000 total? 20,000 from the city and 30, no, just 20. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Sorry
that
about that.
clarifying. Chief, I apologize. I was going into motion and approvals and forgot to acknowledge you. So hi, how's it going? Good. Yeah, good. Thanks. Yeah, a little nervous. All right. So I know it's hard to recruit our police officers and in these times. So this is something that I'm thinking will help with that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So along with a lot of other departments, recruiting for police officers is becoming very, very challenging. We used to get about 300 applications. We're averaging about 24 right now. And we're actually doing very well compared to other police departments locally. A lot of departments, especially Madison and the Dane County Sheriff's Department, have started to offer lucrative signing bonuses, packages to attract candidates to their department. We had 3 of our officers recruited by Madison PD with the signing bonus, and they're leaving at the end of May. Additionally, as you saw, Kathleen Riffenberg's retiring, and we have 2 other vacancies that we have conditional offers out for. One of those candidates, unfortunately, would have to go through the police academy. That's 18 weeks long. After they graduate from the police academy, they attend our they go through our 14-week field training process. So that candidate would not even count towards our minimum staffing requirements until April or May of 2024.
Wow.
So we're kind of getting close to a crisis. Also in my memo, you see that we have 5 officers that have met the minimum requirements or will be meeting the requirements for retirement this year. I do not anticipate any of them retiring, but that's also something that we got to be mindful of. So we're not at a crisis yet, but we're getting close. And we really want to try to backfill as quickly as possible. The police commission is also concerned about that. So they have approved a certified only recruitment, and they're looking for signing bonuses to hopefully recruit officers from other departments, maybe even Madison PD to Middleton PD. And we want to package a signing bonus that's attractive, and we can get certified folks here to Middleton. So again, we can hopefully backfill our positions very quickly. Doesn't mean we lower our standards. They would go through our field training process any quicker. They'd still have to go through our 14-week field training process unless they check off all the different task sheets. But we just think that this is a way to get somebody into the door quicker, that we don't have to send them through the academy. They have experience, and again, that they could quickly backfill our positions with these vacancies. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Chief. Any questions? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Update on change orders for water utility work with street projects.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to ratify the previous actions taken as part of the Elmwood Avenue Street Project.
Okay, do I have a second?
This is Wilkus, I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And update on the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds and annual expenditure reporting. I've been comfortable asking for motions, but I'm going to read better. It says update, so.
Yeah, there's no action needed for this item, just an update for informational purposes. Wanted to provide the full council with the list of the allocated and approved budget amounts for the city's American Rescue Plan Act or ARPA funding. In total, the city has received just under $2.1 million in ARPA funding that has been allocated by the council for 20 different projects that are listed in the table here. The table shows the amounts included in our first and second federal reports. Total spending as of the end of March was about 362,000 out of that 2.1 million. We have a total of 1.5 million approximately budgeted in 2023. And then there are amounts listed as allocated for 2024, but subject to review and approval as part of the budget process. And what we anticipate doing is asking for departments for updates and projections around mid-year as part of the budget process on what is anticipated to be remaining from the 2023 allocation. And then this will be part of the discussion for the 2024 budget. These funds need to be fully obligated by the end of 2024 with final expenditures by the end of 2026. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you for that update. Request to reallocate $5,000 in ARPA funds for an online payment platform integration. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion as recommended by Finance. This is Haniro.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 2023-18, streetlight conversion to LEDs to save money and reduce carbon emissions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 2023-18 with changes made by the city attorney during the Finance Committee meeting.
Do I have a second?
Schaefer seconds.
Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
I'm sorry. What were you trying to say?
It's okay.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I will pause for comments from now.
I was just going to ask for some clarification on what changes were made, but it's fine.
It was just to the ordinances, it's reference to the ordinance. So saying, instead of saying, let me see it. It's in the resolves. Keep going. There it is. So instead of saying comply with ordinance section 33, it says we'll comply with city ordinance chapter 3. And then further on in that sentence, it'll say requirements of ordinance section 33.08.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And so we all approve.
We're good.
Okay. Resolution 2023-26, relinquishing acceptance of DNR Recreational Trails Program, RTP grant, award for the Pheasant Branch Conservancy Trail Underpass, Trailhead, and Parking. Do I have a motion?
This is Wilkus, I'll make a motion to relinquish acceptance.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that. This is Haniro.
Okay. All those in, or any comments or discussion? Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, just that it's sad that we have to relinquish this grant, and hopefully the project can still go on in its time, right? Abby, yes, thank you.
really disappointing. We applied for the grant because we saw an opportunity to use the construction of the bridge as the match for the trailhead and the underpass. It was scored really well, probably in part because the DNR Knowles Nelson Stewardship Grant had helped us to fund acquisition of the land for the trailhead. So this was kind of phase 2 implementation. We have been working with our grant assistant at the DNR. She's given us a couple of extensions because we were still trying to determine whether there was a way to align the county's schedule with the grant schedule requirements. Unfortunately, we're to the point now where we're just not even close. And that is largely because Dane County decided to apply for federal bridge funding, and that requires an extensive environmental review process. So they don't anticipate construction of the bridge now until 2027. So the bad news is this cycle of the grant will not work for the timeline. The good news is that if we go ahead now with this resolution, we relinquish this grant, we're in good standing with the DNR. Our Parks and Recreation Director is in the process of applying for some other grants with the DNR, so this would be helpful for her. But also our contact at the DNR has said that this in no way would affect our ability to reapply in 2026. So I'm hopeful that we would still, we could kind of shuffle around the application and use some of the work that we've already done and still put together a really complete application to be competitive in 2026.
There we go. Thanks.
Sounds good. All those in favor? Thanks.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Abby, for that update. Moving on to committee appointments. Appointment of Aaron Summers as citizen member to Plan Commission for the 2023-2026 term. Do I have a motion?
This is Nelson. Will move approval.
Do I have a second?
Schaefer seconds.
All those or any comments or dialogue?
Just to say, I've worked with Erin on my Parks Committee for years, and I'm very happy to see her here today. So I think she'd be great. So,
And I would like to say I've worked with Erin on the Arts Committee, and she's a very involved, very hardworking committee member. So she'll be wonderful.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Erin. Council appointment to the Community Campus Committee. Do I have a motion?
Or alternatively, does anyone want to nominate someone?
I have a question. What aldermanic districts are currently represented by the citizen members? Do we know?
Abby,
Community Campus.
Do you have it? Abby, do you have a sense?
So the makeup of the Community Campus Committee currently is there's an appointment from the Plan Commission, and that currently is a person who lives in District 6. There is a PRFC appointment, which is actually our staff person who happens to live in District 5. There is our library director who lives in District 4. Our senior center director is on the committee. Our Chamber of Commerce director is on the committee. And then there are 3 mayoral appointments from different aldermanic districts confirmed by the Common Council. And 1 is District 2, 1 is District 4. I do not know where the 3rd member lives.
I just
Alder
made a
Schaefer.
comment that it seems interesting. Nobody from District 1 is on here. When, if this happens, it's going to happen in District 1.
Yeah.
And I see that as a problem. I don't know what could be changed, but.
I don't know that it's confirmed that it's District 1, but
Wait, can you say that louder? 'Cause
I would say I don't
agree.
think it's been confirmed that it's District 1. That it's
Okay.
for sure happened. I think there's still some questions.
In outgoing, past City Alder Kathy Olson was from District 1 and served as the Common Council appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry, who did?
Kathy Olson, the previous District Alder, served on the committee.
Okay,
Alder
and
Wilkes.
no longer.
I would like to make a nomination if I may. I would like to nominate Katie Nelson.
Would you accept that nomination?
I would. Thank you.
Do I need to have a second?
Second motion?
Don't need a second.
No, don't need a second for that.
Okay. Any other candidates? All right. Any discussion? Do you want to say a few words, maybe?
John, do you want to be nominated?
Pardon?
Do you want to be nominated?
I would like, appreciate that actually. Yeah.
I will nominate you.
Okay,
And you accept?
I do accept, yeah.
Excellent. Maybe we can have you guys say a few words since you're both nominated.
Sure. I'm happy to go first. I am honored to be nominated. The campus plan is a very exciting one to me. It kind of encompasses a lot of this stuff that I'm interested in. The sustainability portion, the modern planning of it. We've had some consultants talk about, I can't remember the Swedish word for the road. Wooner. That is mostly just walking on Hubbard Avenue instead of lots of traffic. So I've been interested in it from the beginning, from the conceptualizing of it. I do understand, given that it may be in District 1, I do understand the importance of that too. I'm very involved in CDA, which is the Community Development Authority. Mostly is downtown development in Stonehorse Green. So all of that stuff sort of fits in. And so if I'm allowed to be on the committee, it would just be a lot of fun for me. But either way, it's great.
All right. And do you have some
I
words to
think I
share?
will withdraw.
Oh, golly, don't do it. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for the camaraderie, everyone. And thank you for nominating each other. Alder Nelson, then do I have a motion to approve Alder Nelson to the Community Campus Committee?
I nominated her. I will make the motion that we approve her to the Community Campus Committee.
Okay, do I have a second?
Jackson seconds that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thanks, guys.
So moving on to discussion, reports on city committees, boards, and commissions from alderpersons and mayor. Alder Nelson?
I have one. I haven't even begun on Parks Committee yet, but I have two different reports. And Mark Wagner's in the back, so just wave me down if I'm saying something incorrect. It seems as if the spraying for the spongy moths will be soon, possibly around the week of the 22nd. Stay tuned. And that's just all going to be weather dependent. So as it gets closer, we'll have a more definite date on when that's going to happen. And number two, if you have constituents asking about the poor deceased large turtles in Tiedemann Pond, the DNR is on it. There have been over a dozen so far.
Oh.
Yeah. And one working theory was that it got really, really hot and then it got really, really cold again. And that might be part of it, but it also might be something more dire. So if you have anyone asking, the DNR has taken some of the poor little souls and they are doing autopsies and we'll get reports within a couple weeks. So those are my
Awesome.
just to tell.
Thanks. Alder Haniro?
One sec. Yes, I just wanted to report, one of my last actions as a member of the Sustainability Committee was to table at the Middleton Community Church's EV Car Show and Sustainability Fair. You were there and spoke, Madam Mayor, really appreciated that. Alder Crow was there as well. It was well attended and I encourage everyone, I assume that there will be a third annual one next year. So when we get to near Earth Day next year, I think we'll do a more concerted effort to get everybody to show up and publicize it to your constituents because it's a really great opportunity. So I appreciated the chance to be
Should
there.
have- I think that the downtown should have an e-car show, like, you know, the car shows. I think that'd be super cool.
All right, adding to our to-do list someday. I
Right?
like it. Any other updates from committees? All right, seeing none.
Sorry, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
I'd just like to invite Mark Wagner up to introduce our international guest who's with
yes.
us.
Thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
Trees.
So you may remember the last council meeting, I mentioned that we would be entertaining a fellow as part of the YSEALI program, which is the Young Southeast Asian Leadership Initiative. And we had him last week. This is Surit from Laos. Hello.
Hello.
And he's staying over at the Town Place Suites over there by Spectrum. And I've been doing my best to keep him busy. As you can see, he's cold. Weather is not helping. But if there are any activities or anything that any of you all would like to show Surit during his time, he's here till May 22nd. Let me know, and we will get that scheduled. I know Mike Davis has been helping a lot. And he's going to be going to a Brewers game here soon.
Oh, fun.
And some other events like
Super
that.
cute.
So
Yeah.
trying to give them a good showing. of it. The very first night we took them to Village Green and had a cheeseburger for the first time. So, yes, if you see him around, please say hi.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
I did have him over for some hot tea. So if you guys need an idea, please invite him. So
Wonderful.
thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, right now, we're convening into closed session. Do I have a motion?
This is Hanira. I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
This is Jackson. I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?